obviously got a number of people this morning. Welcome to Tauranga Art Gallery. It's so awesome to see you. This is the first of 3 talks that are happening over the course of 1 hour. And so I'm really looking forward to them. Okay, let's get underway. I'd like to welcome Jaime Jenkins. This is her little show that we are sitting within, and she's going to be the first speaker today in a conversation with Karl Chitham from the Dowse Art Gallery, Art Museum. This is an exhibition that has been created in partnership with Tauranga Art Gallery and the Dowse, and is sponsored by communities in Reuben as well. So I'm going to hand over to Jaime. Just letting you know that this is live streamed, so if you have to duck out and you're missing some of the talks, you can jump on later on or share with your friends and encourage them to watch and listen. And I'm just going to do a quick plug. We actually really awesome public programs here at Tauranga Art Gallery, so jump on our events page and you'll see everything that's coming up, including the string quartet, string quartet, and history lecture series, and our food modelling lecture series, and so on. Anyway, I won't hold the mic any longer.
Good, thank you very much. Please don't get comfortable on the floor.
Yay!
Just before we do move over here and start with a very, very short talk, so we're going to get snappy. Please be very careful when you're looking at the walls. I've seen some very close shades really in the last 5 minutes, which has made me have conversations. So we're just going to move down this end. As you do, please be aware that there's 2 freestanding groups here. They're not the city, they're part of the show. And we'll get started. Great.
Yeah, if you can just keep them safe.
Can you still hear us? I'm going to talk about this is speakers waiting. Okay, so just a reminder that James work is all ceramic. You didn't hear my comment about palpitations before. Also, we're going to be moving again, so don't get too comfortable. So to start off with, I'm going to hand over to Jamie, who's just going to give you some context around your practice. And 5 seconds on this.
Kia ora, I'm Jaime Jenkins. Thank you all for coming. It's like amazing to see so much colour. I grew up here in Tauranga Moana, so it's very special to have my first public gallery solo show here in the hotel. It's really exciting to be here. When I was 17, I studied here locally at Toi Ohomai and was fortunate to have Maurice there, head of department at the time, and he was making ceramics and spending a lot of time at the Tauranga Creek and very record. So he introduced me to ceramics, and I have continued from then. And have been working my studios up in Ngāpuhi in the hills outside of town here. So I've been working my way up there for the last over 10 years. So it's special to have in the shows work, probably about a third or half of it is new work, and then there's some older work, including a few pieces that are like 8 or 10 years old. So it's very special to have this span work that represents my time here.
And what have been some of the sort of highlights of your career so far, since this is a big milestone? It'd be nice to just have some moments where you really understand your practice.
Highlights. Well, a big highlight for me her and putting the Aotearoa up there. That was really amazing working with her and support. Also, I've had some incredible shows with Sarah Pick, which has been a real highlight. I've worked with her. We've collaborated with her painting on my ceramics and glaze. So I enjoyed the show with her at Ngāpuhi Art Gallery and also Whetūrangitia Gallery and also at 2 years ago. Yes, so that's been on a highlight. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Let's get into the work. So it's purposefully standing here because we want to talk about these two significant works behind us. Just as a lead-in before James starts talking about the actual works, this work behind me is one of the earliest works in the show, and this work here is one of the more recent works in the show. And we wanted to put them together because they sort of talk to the practice over time, so seeing that kind of transition, I guess, or that journey, but also how your practice sort of revisits kind of similar forms and processes. So maybe we thought it might be a good opportunity to talk about these big structural works and this idea of how form has developed in your practice.
Yeah, I was pretty excited to include them both. When Karl first visited my studio when we were starting to work on the show, this one was sitting in my studio and I had lots of things piled up on it and he was really drawn to it. And I was like, oh great, we should totally bring it in. And I made this back in 2018, so it's about 8 years old. Something like that. And
Neither of us think
yeah, and then kind of by chance, so my boyfriend Ricardo, who's a body, he's amazing, work downstairs, he's ceramics. He had made this incense holder, which was really beautiful, and the shape of it kind of reminded me of this way of building in that way. And so I asked him if I could make a large scale of it. So it's a collaborative piece with Ricardo, which is really special. Yeah.
And something you said when I was asking you about the circular work was that this was your first big kind of structural piece.
Yes, yeah, so I made this show originally for a show that I had in Wellington where I had all these little pieces that I wanted to be sitting on plinth, but I didn't really like the idea of bringing in another material, another plinth, and so I decided to make the plinth myself. So that was the first time I made a kind of furniture-like piece, is this piece. It's the first one. And then from there it carried on. Around that time, when I was on a residence at Tauranga Creek, and there was lots of pots hidden in the cellars, but back then there was a lot of pots kind of hidden away in the garden. And there's this beautiful little stool that someone can throw on. It's quite curved and beautiful. And I remember sitting on it and being like, this is incredible. Being able to sit on ceramic and feel that kind of body connection to the material. And so that drew me into wanting to make more pieces that could be really interactive with to sit on some of the stools I make, like the blue pieces behind you, or these little ones here that can be little tables or plinths or whatever. And I love the idea that they can go with people into their lives and kind of shift in time. Like when I see them in practice homes, sometimes they might have beautiful flowers on them or other things and they kind of evolve. And I love that kind of continuation of the piece as they live with the owners. Yeah.
Cool. So while we're sort of slightly turning to this direction, we're just going to talk about the hanging work on the wall, which is called drape. And just for reference as well, these two works, the back work is actually called plinth, and the front work is called stand. So kind of like this idea that Jamie's title is sort of talk to these layers. Like you can read lots of things into them because they seem really simple at first glance, and then there's all these layers that come with it. But the reason we wanted to talk about drape was because it really is a kind of evolution turning something that looks like something else into this sort of like turning ceramics into a textile, and how difficult that would be, but how Jamie sort of worked out a way to articulate that. Do you want to talk to that bit?
Yeah, this work is a continuation of, so first it started with, this again was probably 10 years ago, I was making these mobiles and making ceramic components and then metal wire to hang in, and then I wanted to see if I could make them with just ceramics, so I started making these like chain kind of linked pieces so that the pieces could move, and so it grew from there, and eventually I made these hand tapestry-like pieces, and this is one of my most recent tapestry-like pieces, and it was really interesting because I actually made it to sit like a rectangle, and then when I was playing around with the pencil, again I think it was Ricardo, and was like, ooh, you could try hand from my corner, and I was like, oh, the whole work changes. Like it was quite fun, the evolution of it, and it really, I love the textile likeness of it, and you can see the back coming through.
And you can kind of see the sort of evolution of that textile approach through multiple works in the show. So we've got Rambler behind us, which kind of looks almost like a wallpaper or a tapestry. And then on the floor is a much earlier work, which includes the stainless steel wire as the sort of connection mechanism. So you can kind of see how the work has evolved from piece to piece.
Yeah.
So this being the most recent one, and Jamie showed us some images yesterday of her making the work and the steps involved. So everything had to be fired as a single fire.
Yeah, in the end it's all fired at once.
Connected.
Yeah, connected, so it's all one piece. Yeah. There's no glue or anything in that piece.
I wish I could show you the photos because it's fascinating.
Yeah, I'll put photos on Instagram. Yes, so it's like yeah. Yeah, it is. And also the hanging charcoal
You're right.
pieces on the line of the wall, the same as well.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're now going to go down to the other end where the bells are. We'll meet you down there. 3 seconds. Food station.
Yeah. This is on, so just don't talk loudly. You're right. So we go down. Well, yeah, oh, sorry. So I just told Sonia to say that when she introduces Claire and Catherine, just to say that we're from an Tracy. You good? Yeah?
Okay.
Oi.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I have to say I'm not used to the speed talking, so hopefully you guys will look okay. Very careful with these works behind you.
Coming through,
Sorry,
just behind you.
somebody said I'm making them jump. Okay, so we thought we might quickly talk to this installation of the Dowse, because this is a really good example of your collaborations. And you talked about the ceremony who's here with us today, but there's other collaborations with you as well, so maybe we could talk to that.
Yeah, okay. The Dowse was something I've been making for a long time, and it's been fun to, in terms of collaboration, it's been really fun to work with some other friends with us. So this is my friend installation, well, a few of my friends. And this little bell That's the first time again, so that's really special, and these larger ones as well. Yeah, and then I have a few other friends, Martin William, did the etching into that one, Josh Taylor, this one here, and Finlay, a poet, wrote a poem on the bottom of that, so it's pretty special to have things together, yeah.
And then other thing about Dowse is probably their, not to get into the picky thing about the contest, but there's probably some more affordable works. So it means that people kind of have this ability to have a piece of your work in their home, but they're also all working days.
Yeah, I really liked the, when I first started thinking, I loved being able to make something that had a sound to it, and it could be interactive. I love work that can be like it's something that's different but similar to like the furniture that can be interactive with a little bit. And so, these does represent that in a way. And they all have different ringtones, and depending on the size and shape and type of play, they have different things to it. So all unique. Unfortunately, you can't touch this installation, but things I could really like.
Yeah.
That's different. I know all kinds of different ringtones, that's quite special.
And they all belong to Jamie, so it's okay. So the other thing about Dowse is that Jamie and has worked with the gallery to have some of Dowse available in the shop for sale as well, so we can have one if you'd like to have one. We also just wanted to very briefly talk to these free stamping works, which are probably the most, I guess, significant shift for you when you were making your work for the show.
Yeah, definitely. I was excited to, so with making these large works, I like the connection to the body and people to be able to kind of encounter them in a body way. So I think making these forms, I was wanting to make some forms that really have a presence and that you can really stand with. I didn't expect it to be quite so tall. Nothing's even taller than me, but I was wanting to create some forms that could be like eye to eye with and feel, and I think ceramic work and the grains have such a presence, and so it was kind of what I was supposed to create was that interaction.
And we just want to talk a little bit about the glazes as well. I'm really drawn to the sort of rusty looking glaze that's also on those earlier works we talked about. But can you just talk a little bit about the process in terms of how some of the works are made?
Yeah, absolutely. These stacked works are all built using a slab building technique where I roll out slabs of clay. I kind of describe it like building a gingerbread house. You roll out pieces and then you cut them out and construct. So they're all built in that way. I started off by really quite loosely drawing cardboard shapes and then as templates. So it's actually started with drawing, and I wanted the forms to have like my hand in the shape of it in that way as well. And then I constructed them that way. And so they're all hollow, they're like about half an inch or something. Yeah. And then they dried and fired twice, the second time glazed, so it's a good process making these kind of works. Yeah.
Because each one of the circles is an individual piece.
Yeah.
So when you construct it, it's all constructed like a stack.
Yeah.
Because they're called stacks.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about glazes before when we were installing the show, but you kind of talked about some really interesting things around the way that different glazes interact in the kiln. Like there's a big curly work that's up on the wall down the back there, and you were talking about how it's got all these colours, like there's pinks and there's blues and there's greens, but they're all the same glaze.
Yes, yeah, so that is tangle on the far blue wall from here. That glaze, it's all glazed in the same colour. There's a lot of variation from the firing, and I
One of the things that we just talked about was the fact that it's amazing that we've been able to collaborate between Tauranga Art Gallery and Dowse, particularly as Jamie shows with Young Millers in Wellington. So we'll be moving down here next year. But we did also want to give a shout out to Young Millers, who represents Jamie, and a large proportion of the works here are actually available, should you be inclined. So you can come back and spend time with them over the next how many months?
6.
4,
5, 6. Oh, that sounds good.
Lots of time. And kind of find the one that you like. But also, we just want to acknowledge as well the amazing team here at Tauranga Art Gallery for all of their care and effort in putting this exhibition up. But also, a shout out to Rob.
Yes, Rob.
Ta-da!
Especially from Mountain to Mountain, so...
And in some I just don't know. But one of the things, like the amazing thing about Jane's practice is the way that she uses clay in such a different way to a lot of other ceramic artists. It's very unique and it's very individual to her practice. But one of the things, this is not putting you off, hopefully, because I'm intrigued by it, is that when we install some of the works, they make a lot of tinkling noises, which are terrifying. But Rob and Jamie are just so expert at kind of working with the works that there was no sense of harm that would come to the works, but I did have to move out of the room. I was like down the other end of the stage, let me know when you finish. But the works are really beautiful because they do all of those things. So thank you so much for coming. Now I've been instructed, we're going to move back to that end of this gallery space, but on your way, if you just want to have a look at the little wonder box that's down here in the corner by Catherine Chu, because that's the next talk.
No.
Thank you so much.
Kia ora.